Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Joey.
Yep.
Today we're going to start with Palworld. And not the thing.
So, well. First off, I just want to clarify Jesse's position on this. Super Paper Mario has a bad story. Jesse said so.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's exactly
That's a
what he
different
said.
podcast subject.
Exactly what he said. I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody listening. Is that in terms of storylines, a game that doesn't have a story is better than a game with a story, just on the story aspect, not even on the controls aspect.
Listen, I'm
Not
not going
even
to
on the
fight you about
theming
this
aspect.
right now because we have a different subject to talk about.
No. I'm agreeing with you. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. You're right. I am right as always. Anyways,
Yeah,
on to
there you go.
Palworld. Supposed to be talking.
A game that could be really good if they stopped making Pokemon that were just other Pokemon. What about that Eevee clone?
Oh, you mean the 4 of them?
Dude, like 1 sec.
You
There's
say
only
Eevee
to
clone,
be
I'm
fair.
like, which one?
To be fair, there's only one that I would actually give. Oh my god, it's an Eevee clone. Like legal issue, and it would be I'm gonna send you a photo of it because it's Gigantamax Eevee.
Oh yeah, that one, the fluffy one.
Yeah, it's literally just Gigantamax Eevee. That they could get in trouble.
I mean, I was gonna ask. It's like, is it the fluffy one, the girl one, the dark one? Which one are you talking about?
They also have a clone of Mewtwo that's hidden in the code. That I
think that was one of the ones that was removed because they realized it was too close.
But it wasn't removed. It's still in the code. The code's in there. They didn't remove it.
Yeah.
They just didn't make it accessible on the front end. But no, that's Weaselly, and that's gonna get them in trouble if they're not careful. And I don't want that for them because it's literally just Mega Mewtwo X. It's just Mega Mewtwo X.
Yeah.
Like have you seen?
I will say this game is still super early access, so anything could be removed or added. So.
Right, but it also could be tanked if they're not careful based on the fact that Nintendo could litigate with even just a minor similarity.
Oh, yeah.
That's my worry here is I don't want this game to die. I think this game is awesome and fun in concept.
It is. It's great. I love this game. I've been playing the shit out of it.
Yeah. I don't want them to step on their own feet. Because if they're alpha and they're indie, they're going to make money. Fine,
but,
whatever.
I mean, there is one thing to say. This is a parody, so being a little derivative is to be expected.
Right. But, like, having Pokemon that are almost, like, just carbon copies in aspect. Like, this isn't derivative. This is a Mewtwo.
Yeah.
This isn't derivative. This is an Eevee. Like, you can't afford to make those mistakes.
And then I'm mostly making these arguments, just to make them. But there's also the fact that this is the art style. This is the Pokemon art style. It's kind of hard to do the Pokemon art style without tripping on some Pokemon.
That's true, which is why I haven't notated that many. Yes. I've notated like maybe at most 10. At most, with 3 to 5 of them being ones that could be a legal problem. But literally, Jesse, all it takes is one to cause a litigation situation that cuts into their profits and ruins their chances of enjoying their time, and it ruins the chance for us to enjoy this game.
That's true, and that would be a problem. I think another thing is Nintendo has made a statement that they're investigating whether or not they have any legal grounds.
That's new. That's worrying. Because Pokemon,
a lot of people have pointed out that's kind of legal speak of. We don't actually have anything. We're just keeping an eye on them in case something comes up.
I disagree. I think Nintendo's exploring what they have, and they're doing a deep dive on the code because they probably have people that can mine the code. And what they're doing is they're looking into the code to see all of the similarities and building a case based on that. Because a big thing about this one, unlike a lot of other ones, is this one made a lot more money than all those other ones.
That's true.
So it's a lot harder to approach. Also, it has the backing of Xbox, what with them building their own servers for them because they made so much money. So yes, this is going to be them going against Xbox, not just them, if they do it.
This
so
game is made with Unity and does have a lot of Unity assets in it. Well, I know Craftopia did. This one has a lot of the coding from Unity in it.
Yeah. I mean, and that makes sense.
So
to me, honestly.
here's a lot of the issues. This game, from its very birth, was the CEO of the company is a massive crypto guy who wants to do AI for everything. He has stated he likes to do that kind of stuff. So people are like, is this game using AI generated stuff? Most likely not, but there's a concern
It's
there.
something to keep an eye. It's something to keep an eye on. Yeah.
Their previous game they worked on that they never really fully got finished, but was kind of out there, was Craftopia, which stole every little bit of itself from other games. So, do they have a history of maybe stealing stuff? Yes, kind of. Not completely, but very being incredibly derivative. So naturally, when this game has similar Pokemon, pals similar to Pokemon, it's like, well, they've already proven to be not always the most creative when it comes to their ideas. Even the gameplay of this game is very, as a lot of people have described, basically just Ark. With some
Yeah,
Breath
that
of the
is
Wild
true.
thrown in there.
I mean, but to be fair, it is a little bit more, from the looks of it, well formulated
I will also
than
say you can't
that.
copyright game mechanics because using them in new situations is always
True.
fun. So
That's true.
even
I
if you
agree.
say it's taken from Ark and Breath of the Wild, I'm like, so that makes it cooler.
I
Like
agree.
hell yeah, steal from Ark and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Do that.
Oh, I mean, relative stealing,
Well,
because a big
relative
thing to
stealing.
note here. Yeah, like we got to make sure we're not tiptoeing on too many toes here. But yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying there. I mean, the big thing that people tend to forget is Zelda was just the first of its kind, but there were many others after, and
I,
that's a good thing.
and what I'll say on the AI, I'll say two things. First of all, if they use AI as the basis and then they evolved from the AI, like they use it as an idea generating machine and then uh, added their own spin after that, that's fine. That's using AI as a tool, not just ripping off of AI. Number two, if it is just wholesale using AI and the designs look this good, AI has already won. All right, the AI, if they can make models this good and designs this good using just AI, AI has won. We've lost the war. Everything will be AI in the future.
I mean, we have seen an instance where AI is a problem for a lot of people, but like, and AI itself can be problematic.
But
So
it's
like,
not this
but
good yet.
well, but we are also the ability to craft a model is something that would be within the wheelhouse, but it's not something that I could see an indie development company do without good monetary backing. So, like, logically speaking, it wouldn't make sense, but if they could prove it, I wouldn't be surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I doubt they'll be able to prove anything because I doubt that it happened.
Yeah.
Now, talking about indie games and them starting to get a lot of flack from the upper management, like high end video game devs, that's a more common thing these days.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. Indie games have been doing a lot of what AAA hasn't been doing. So,
It's true,
for
and
example, this game is the Pokemon game everybody's been wanting for years, and now that's made. All the Nintendo Pokemon guys are like,
that is true. I mean,
but yeah.
it's not uncommon.
I think one argument I would like to present here is like how derivative can you be? Because let's take Ukulele for example. That game is just Banjo Kazooie. A lot
But
of
that's the
things in that
point.
game are just Banjo Kazooie stuff.
But that is the point. Like let's be clear, that's a different thing. We notate here that that's the old devs from Banjo Kazooie, so it should be like.
But I will also argue, Pokemon's not been making the Pokemon game everybody wants. So should this be Pokemon because
I
it's doing what they're not doing?
Pokemon would never make a gun game, so that doesn't even tie in because this isn't really Pokemon. You've said it. It's
So
Ark. Ark is not
does that make
Pokemon.
it more or less okay than Ukulele?
I
Or
mean,
yeah,
ukuleles. Well, that's more of a moral quandary here. The
yeah,
moral quandary dictated here is I am saying I like this game and
yeah.
I think it's fine. I think that their ideas about going against Nintendo are dangerous. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's dangerous.
And
Those are
I'm
different.
mostly just pointing out this question just for, you know.
Now back to ukulele and banjo. That's legitimately, yes, do this. Because guess what? It's a collectathon. You couldn't get mad at Lucky's nut or whatever the fuck they made to deal with that itch that you needed. I had time. They couldn't stop that because it's a genre.
Yeah.
And like while ukulele only has one similarity to Banjo Kazooie,
it's got a lot of similarities to Banjo Kazooie. Actually,
well, if we're talking like thematic similarities, it's only one, and it's that there's somebody on your back while you do your moves. That's the thematic similarity.
The moves
here.
are similar, and the pages are very similar. Ooh.
Nah. I mean,
art style is very similar. There's a lot more similarities than just that.
No, let's point it out here. Legally distinct similarities.
Yeah.
So there's only one that they could have said anything about, but I'll be real. Microsoft recognizes they don't know how to make a fucking platform because they don't know how to make a fucking platform. Like of all the genres, and like that happens with every developer. Like if we look at PlayStation, they don't know how to make an RTS. If we look at Xbox, they don't know how to make platforms. Look at Nintendo, they don't know how to make it. Well, that's not true. They don't know how to make
a multiplayer game. Honestly,
no, they do. Smash is good. You mean co-op?
I feel like Smash is good despite Nintendo.
No, Smash is developed by Nintendo. That's good because of them. I would diversify it more and say co-op.
Co-op.
Because like if we're talking multiplayer games, they have plenty of solid ones. I mean Mario Kart exists.
I suppose. And then I guess the next question is how close do you think something can be? Because we pointed out Mewtwo and Eevee here, but I during our last conversation pointed out a certain Wolfmon that I was like, well, this is just a Wolfmon. It's very similar. It's similar to Lycanroc, but I think it's distinct enough that I think it's.
I think that's right on the barrier where they could throw a litigation at it. I think that's the barrier that I need to establish here. That is it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say is like, where is the establishment? Because
that's the barrier right there. That would be everything to the right of that.
Okay, so anything like that wolf and closer, and everything not as close to that wolf. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Which a majority of them are not close like that wolf.
A majority of them. That's another thing. A majority of these things are not directly Pokemon.
And I mean, there's just as much a chance Nintendo won't do anything. I mean, do I think they'll do something? Probably, because it's Nintendo. Do I want them to? No. Because once again, Nintendo should be for the people on this instance, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm personally of the mind that if you have indie devs creating something that people wanted, we should feed into it.
There's one other one I want to bring up, and that's the Anubis dog. So a lot of people pointed out they're both based off of Anubis, so it's more okay because it's based off the same source, and so it's a little bit more okay. They're stealing for the same thing. My problem with the Anubis in Palworld is I didn't even notice until I caught one. Its animations are just a Lucario. Like when it moves, it runs like Lucario. It sounds like Lucario. When it hits things, it does the palm strike like Lucario. That thing is Lucario. I'm like, ooh, they might want to change those animations to make it less Lucario.
But they're not gonna. They're not gonna.
Design-wise, I'd say that's just on the other side of that barrier. But once you see the animations and the sounds, it's like, ooh, yeah, that's Lucario.
Yeah, no, it's going to be probably how it handles, honestly.
I've got one in my party. I've seen it enough. It's, yeah.
which is not uncommon. Like, specifically with games that are looking to, like you said it, games that are looking to be legitimized through what they showcase. That is what this is. And we backed a bunch of games like that. We have.
Yeah.
I
Mind
mean,
you, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I want to have a Lucario with my gun game here. So it's not like I'm as against it, but there's also like,
right.
when Nintendo comes in, it's
And
gonna be rough.
they're yeah, they're gonna throw some wrenches.
I will say though, when it usually comes to game situation copyright situations like this, they do have to give a warning before they sue. So there will be time for them to be like, okay, we know what to change and what not to change.
Yeah, although
Nintendo
Nintendo,
has to give an itemized list of what they want changed before they sue.
that is true. That is true, and we'll see if they follow that ruling. Hopefully they do.
Because, this
Um,
Eevee thing, it just looks like a big chinchilla. You change its ears a little bit, give it a little slightly different face, you could probably make it not Eevee.
I'm sure, yeah, easily. It's just it's work, and they don't want to do it.
I
And
wouldn't say
also, like
that.
they,
If you play the game, you'll see a lot of effort went into the animations and models of these creatures. Way more than any Pokemon game ever has.
I
So I think they're willing to put the effort into this game.
okay. Let me diversify my statement. They don't want to do it because what they did was already a lot of work.
That's true. But I don't know. Like, one thing I'm noticing is that developers of this game really want it to work. I was just saying that the CEO was like a cryptocurrency, AI generating loving person, but he did do something where he basically is like, I don't care if we run it at a loss, we're gonna keep the servers on for the multiplayer. So that everyone can enjoy it, even if we have to run it at a loss. I'm like, I've never heard a CEO take responsibility for their multiplayer like that.
I mean, it is
So
going
I'm
to come
like,
down
he
to
really
yeah.
wants it to succeed, even if he has that one little scummy bit to him. And I'm
Oh,
noticing
definitely.
that a lot with like what a lot of the developers have said and shown. They really want this to succeed. They are not half-assing this at all.
In the process of them looking to get it to succeed, will they kill it?
I don't know. I don't know.
'Cause that's now what I can tell you're worried about.
Because following that statement, he took $500,000 losses keeping the server up in 1 month. I'm like, ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Maybe you could have let the server die for a little bit.
That's a lot.
Mind you, they've made millions in this first couple weeks, so I'm sure they'll survive it. But it's like, yeah, maybe you could have let the servers die for a little bit.
I think it would have benefited.
It is still super early access. Nobody cares that much if the servers die. It's actually to be
Agreed.
expected. Maybe if it
At
was
the
further
moment, yeah,
along the
agreed.
line, it'd be a little bit better to keep it online at all costs. But right now, it's like, no. You can kill the servers.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, once it reaches
they probably
beta, keep the servers
well,
open.
hold on, because we think about what they're worried about too. What do you think they're worried about if the servers die?
People are gonna lose retention or data.
People are going to lose that, but they're also going to lose respect. Square Enix, Outriders.
That's true, but I think there's two aspects to that. Again, super early access, and two, indie group. So I think there is an expectation that they can't keep the servers on 24 hours this early. And I
Right.
think as an indie, it is kind of a little bit more expected that they can't do it compared
I
to a
mean,
AAA.
relatively, but let's think of it this way. There's also the subtext here. We've talked about this before too. Square Enix has been in the red since the '90s.
Oh, yeah.
Like they haven't been turning a profit ever. That's why I'm like they're one of the companies that if big companies going, they're one of them. They're expected to fail because they put in lost profits trying to cut corners. Essentially, they're a successful indie. They're a successful indie dev in all but actuality.
Yeah.
Which by that I mean they've got the funding of an indie dev and they turn the profits of an indie dev. But somehow they still have people love their games. So my thing here is this company may turn a profit immediately.
Yeah.
Like not an Undertale profit, mind you, but like a profit.
Mind you, still super early access. There's probably people waiting until it's full out before they buy it.
Maybe. Or maybe nobody's going to buy it because they'll fuck it up in the process. Who knows? That's the issue I also have with early access. I think early access is stupid.
I will say, at base, this game is still pretty complete. It's got all of the important bits to it.
Right, which is why if they add certain things that ruin the game, it could happen pretty easily if they're not careful. And that's probably where a lot of my concern comes in too, is just, are they going to overshoot the basketball?
It's weird because like a lot of what we're talking about isn't bad, but it is worrying. So it's like,
well, this isn't like the people who made Baldur's Gate 3, where I'm like, I can see them. They had a track where they told you exactly where they were at every single point of that game. This is a game where we knew about it. We didn't get a lot of knowledge on it until it was put out. So I'm acting upon skepticism because they have not been transparent.
I will say another thing is, this is an indie developer. A lot of the people working on this game are like fresh from college. Like this is like,
yeah. I mean,
which
to be
I know
fair,
that's true for
Notch
a lot of indie groups, but this one seems like
Notch was out of college. Toby Fox was right out of college.
Yeah,
this is common.
But I feel like usually when it's like, okay, this freshman out of college is making a little passion game on the side for himself while he's in college, that's like Toby Fox and stuff. This is like a whole usually when it's like an indie group, there'll usually be like one or two guys who know what they're doing to kind of lead the indie group. This has nobody.
See, in that,
this is a large group of nobody who knows what they're doing.
even then, like, let's notate like what similarity we have here, because what does this reek of? To me, this reeks of how certain old school video games were created, because like indie developers are not a thing. They that was how video games became a thing to the mass media initially.
Yeah.
But originally it was a bunch of schmucks playing with filament tube based technology in their fucking garage.
It's kind of what this game feels like, honestly.
Well, no, this one feels like it was actually developed. Like, that's why I'm like, it's got enough in it to build up. They just need to refine it. If they try to add too much, will they fuck up the code? I hope not.
I mean, again, it's actually a pretty stable game too. Like, there's some slowdown when you try to get to some of the heavy areas. But
well, and let's clarify this too. Like, Toby Fox is an awful coder. Like, if you look at the code of Undertale, it's all one unbroken line of code. Like, now, to clarify for those that don't understand, you're supposed to break your code up just to make sure that it runs a little bit more feasibly and smoothly, and make sure that you don't have any overlap in your code. Now, how does Undertale keep running? Well, Undertale is a preloaded game. Everything in it preloads. It's like it's already a thing. You just warp. Think anybody who's listening, if you played Yuma Nikki, that old freeware game, that's
that one was
one
RPG
that was
Maker.
Preloaded. Yeah, but that's preloaded. Is my point. Like whether or not it's RPG Maker is irrelevant.
Well, RPG Maker does a lot of the coding heavy lifting.
Yeah, well, I mean, more current RPG makers actually have made some pretty great RPGs. Like, I wouldn't give them too much shit. They make it feasible to make solid ones.
Oh no, I know. I'm giving RPG Maker credit. It makes coding easy.
I was gonna say, not everybody is Chemco, churning out RPGs.
Yeah.
But you can make a good RPG or a good game. Sorry, You can make a good game with rough coding. You can. It's proven because Undertale exists.
Oh yeah.
But the question here is, will they fall into the live service hole that
So
seems to be more consistent? Because it
one
seems
thing I
like there are
want to
about
point out.
500 live service games being worked on right now, or 500.
So one thing I want to point out is this game's been in development for 3 years, right? So
Mm-hmm.
far. They mostly just have the models done. They spent 3 years getting these models done. And they have the environment too, mostly. I think there's definitely parts of the environment they're gonna rework. But so like they're definitely taking their time to do everything right, even if they're probably taking longer than they should. Like these models, I'm sure if they were a professional group, probably would have taken like half the time. But
That's true. I
um,
mean,
I think as long as it is, even if you're bad at something, as long as you take your time with it, I'm sure you'll get put out something good.
oh, I'm sure. Like, and that's never going to be the issue. Is I think that they're going to turn out something bad. The issue here is if they can consist. It's
Yeah,
the worry of consisting because any game that's like early action, early release, or any of that stuff has the threat of being fucked up somewhere in the process of building. Uh, Famously, we have to thank Notch. I know people in the chat might like villagers from Minecraft, but they're racist. Uh, they're based upon Jewish people, and the reason I dictate that is because of Notch's own verbiage utilized on depicting Jewish people. So, like, that happened in alpha. Like, he allowed some of that personal bias in there. There's also that to consider. Is
true.
that detrimental in the long run? Because, like, he's a crypto bro, he's an AI bro. Even if he doesn't use it for the game, is it gonna leak into the game, right?
Who knows? We'll have to see.
I guarantee. I mean, I my point here is, I think yeah, it probably will, and that's gonna be a war because the game's gonna be good, and everyone's gonna be like, well, I wish it wasn't this, but it's gonna be this.
I think ultimately you can't really like argue against something that doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you can preface or prep yourself for something that's
Yeah, you can
possible,
prep
especially if
yourself,
it's
but ultimately, you're the difference between a conspiracy theorist and a conspiracy nutcase is action. If you just
right,
theorize, you're
right.
fine. If you
Hold
act
on, hold
upon
on, hold
that,
on,
then
hold
you're
on, hold
crazy.
on, hold on, hold on. Conspiracy theorists aren't comparable to that, though, and I can dictate why. If you look at a politician and how they vote, would you dictate that they're going to vote a certain way because of how they voted?
I don't know. Probably.
The answer to that is yes, because that's how they voted in the past. If not, then you're kind of gambling, and that's what my point here is I refuse to gamble. I know the man, bro. So it's more likely that we're going to get something that's more aimed towards that if his thoughts are put in the game,
I suppose.
because that's I mean that's logic.
I don't know.
So I think that that's a detriment alongside uh, the fact, or possible detriment was what I was dictating.
So here's
Uh,
another question: what if like the cryptocurrency stuff is in the game, but doesn't actually like affect the game? It's just kind of along the side.
if it normalizes utilized, like if it, because it's scummy and it's used for white supremacy groups, like that is stuff that is proven. So like normalizing something that is negative as positive, we can all agree that's not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So that I would not be okay with it personally. I might just never play the game at that point.
Just one of those things like where's your line? When we had that thing with Hogwarts Legacy, where it's like,
Oh yeah, and I set mine up real clear with that one.
oh yeah, me too.
Uh, way to name your character who's Black Shacklebolt.
Oh yeah.
But no, there's a couple games where I've just been like, I will not play you. because there are certain people that you support through it that I don't like. Um, I got Diablo 4 as a gift, so I play it, but I didn't purchase it.
Yeah.
That's my determinant. Is this? I think we talked about Hogwarts Legacy the same way. It's like, I mean, I'm not going to pay for it.
Listen, if somebody threw Hogwarts Legacy onto my lap, I guess I would play it, as long as I don't have to support the people who are giving my J.K. Rowling.
Well, no, that's my dictator. My barrier is I put my towards that. If somebody else did, I'd prefer it be in my hands so I could criticize it.
Oh well.
But I do think that there's some promising showcases for Pokemon likes in the future. I mean, we've talked about Kindred Fates, Sky Climbers. It looks like Uden Chronicles will have a little bit of Pokemon too.
Yeah, I don't think we've quite talked about them on this channel. How about we talk about them again real quick?
Yeah, because one of those is actually coming pretty soon in April. I recommend everybody pre-order Uden Chronicles. It looks to be a really good game. It's got a lot coming
game,
in
so
it.
I'm getting it for free. Well, back or free. You know what I mean. They'll be giving.
Yeah, no, I
me.
didn't. I feel it. I got an early bird on it.
Nice. I know the original Pokemon killer of the year before Palworld kind of took over was Cassette Beast. That game is fantastic.
It's good games. What I notate here is like there's never going to be anything for kill Pokemon. It's too big.
Well, I think the problem is all of the Pokemon likes that are made by AAA companies are not Pokemon. You know, Digimon, Dragon Quest Monsters.
I mean,
but
arguably Dragon Quest Monster, Digimon, in my opinion, I prefer it over Pokemon. But that doesn't
preferably,
mean
but they're
Pokemon.
not Pokemon. They're their own thing. Whereas a lot of the ones that are actually like directly trying to take on Pokemon are indie games, and thus they will never be as good as Pokemon.
That's untrue. It's just that the Roman Empire isn't better than certain other empires. It's just bigger. That's all.
Yeah.
It's harder to topple. I don't think it's feasible to topple, but I do think that it's easy to be better than.
I will say, you do have to also take it in steps. Cassette Beast may not be the Pokemon killer yet, but maybe Cassette Beast 2 or 3 might be.
I don't think anything like that's going to kill Pokemon. I don't think it's going to be within its formulation to be able to do it.
Palworld
just
might.
Because of
that's what everybody's saying.
It's. I mean, what was the Halo killer again? I don't even remember what his name was. Was it Resistance or Killzone? It was one of the two, and neither of them did it.
I will say,
really
I don't necessarily want a Pokemon killer. I just want something to light a fire underneath Pokemon's butt so that Pokemon actually gets good. Maybe this game doesn't kill Pokemon, but maybe it scares it enough.
This
have that moment
like
at the end of the 300 where the spear comes close to taking off the king's head, and it's like, make them wet themselves a little bit.
I don't think it's ever going to get that close because you'd have to actually cut into their. You'd have to cut into their funds enough for it to matter. But we've established they're $500 billion worth of money.
Oh yeah, they have too much. They could bleed for 100 years and still not run out.
Yeah. It's just not feasible at this point in time, which is bad.
Everybody would have to quit Pokemon cold turkey, and that's not going to happen.
No, because Pokemon is fun. And Legends Arceus is amazing.
Legend Arceus is amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
By the way, you know how you catch pals in this game? Basically the same as Legend Arceus.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They had to probably pivot a little bit, and that's why they waited a little. Oh my god, look at that. Let's take that shit. I do think Legends Arceus is probably a good format to try to make one of the Pokemon games in more.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, in summary,
Yeah, no, the
Palworld
game.
is good and will probably stay good. Probably not. Depends if on a lot of factors. And
It's not worth to put all your money into because saying it's a this killer, it's a that killer. We've had 25 Mario killers and nobody did it.
I will say
We've
it
had
is also only $30 for open world that'll last you hours, so pretty
the
good.
only thing you can hope for is to compete with them consistently because, like, let's be real here, Sonic is a success story. Even if like the company's dead, Sonic is never gonna die.
Sonic is fun.
The company died though, and that's the big thing. Is like they stopped making consoles
Oh
and
yeah.
they built themselves back up behind the scenes, and they've showcased all of the series that people love of theirs, and they've built themselves into the zeitgeist.
Oh yeah,
And
they
now the
just
question
announced
is,
that like all of the old series are coming back. Golden Axe, Jet
yeah,
Set
and
Radio, and they're
so
bringing them back.
now the question here is, when do they make another console if they want to? Because they also had a recent purchase where they purchased the company that makes all the Angry Birds content, so that's the Sega series,
Oof.
including the movies.
God, a fourth console in the console wars. Oh boy, Richard,
I think I
Sega
think
from
Sega
the
would have a
back
chance.
of rope, man.
Well, Nintendo having the family aspect, Sega having the arcadey aspect, they would both fit a niche that the two big boy ones that people talk about all the time just don't give. Like Xbox has the best PS experience of any console, and PlayStation has the best action experience of any. But like the feel isn't synonymous with either of them. What is family games is synonymous with Nintendo. Arcadey games is synonymous with Sega.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious to see is if they do come back, what do they bring with them this time, other than just what they've announced? Because I'm sure they'll have to announce new things for a returning console.
I will say, like, I don't think you can make a console with just arcade games. You're gonna need a little bit more to that.
I mean, I'm sure they'd have more because it's a console, therefore they use third-party developers too. But what they should lead with is what they're known for, which is Sonic, Kooza, which is action but also arcadey with RPG elements too. Um, you got your Crazy Taxi, you got your Jet Set Radio, you got your Golden Axe, you got your. Uh, uh, if they can get a hold of Bayonetta, because Nintendo doesn't own the rights to Bayonetta yet. That's a Sega published video game.
Hmm.
If they can get the rights to Bayonetta, they'd have a huge get.
um, that's probably what this wave of games is about. Just testing the waters to see if people will like them.
And they will. They do. Legit, the major reason why I did not enjoy, or did not play, I should say, because they enjoyed it. The Dreamcast, their advertisement campaign was a piece of garbage. It was one of the worst in video game history.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the rare instances where somebody's saying, well, we have bits as like 64 bits or 32 bits. You remember the bit war before it was actually like
Oh
them
yeah.
being like, oh, this game is better. Since that had happened in the mid 90s, that was the worst advertising campaign they ever did, which was literally just they didn't advertise.
Sega did controller with a screen before the Wii U did.
They've done a lot of things. Like that's one of the big things of why it's so tragic.
Oh yeah.
It is such an influential console. It's the first one. It's the second one with an internet connection.
Oh yeah.
The first one was SNES. It had satellite capability, which means you had. But like
Um,
even then,
I mean to cut this conversation short, but we are definitely going like a little bit over time here.
oh okay. I'll finish up with this then. Um, Palworld looks like it's going to be fun. I hope that nothing notch esque goes into the game. I think that Sega is something that is a company to keep an eye on in the coming years. Specifically with all the content that they've been releasing, specifically with the Yakuza series and Sonic series, just being really hyper vigilant about releasing things for them. And hopefully Nintendo doesn't sue them, because if they do have some grounds to hit them, even if it's just petty.
Oh yeah.
And that could ruin the great game they're making.
Well, we'll just have to see.
It's true. You
I
are
will
correct.
say, as my final counter to Nintendo suing, they did have the last 3 years to sue them. It's not like
That's
this game was
true.
unknown before it released.
But they did not have access to the source code.
That's true. Anyway, see y'all. Bye.
Bye.